All right, first off, I'd like to thank you for doing this interview with the Hype Magazine tonight.
Oh man, you already know. Appreciate you having me.
And to get started, can you tell the fans and listeners who you are and where you from?
Yeah, man. It's Chase Flow telling where the hook go, man. Live from the 215. Philly Rays, you know what I mean?
Now, being from Philly, do you think it made it harder for you or easier for you to get into the music industry?
Oh man, I think it actually made it a little easy just because I mean it's just in the pulse of the city and the people. So I mean it's one of the I mean, one is the birthplace of America, one. And then just two is just the sound of Philly is just infectious. I mean, we can go all the way back to the Gamble and Huff days, even before that, to the current, Roots and the Jill Scotts and the Will Smiths, and so it's just state property. You know what I mean? The list goes on. So I just feel like the fabric and just in our culture in Philly is definitely just music vibes. Yeah,
Now, what
man.
made you want to be a DJ and pursue this as your career?
Man, you know what? So, like I said, just music was just always something for me that was just always just in me, and I just love music just from every aspect. So when I had an ear for it, like it's funny, I had an ear for it like way back then, like, and I would just mess around, and I could always hear samples and like chop them, but I just never knew
Okay.
how to do it on machines. But 2017, long story short, I was doing an interview in the Philippines. Shout out to my man Paulie Mack, and he kept calling me DJ Chase Flow. Like, and then when we would cut the break, I was just like, "Bro, like, why you keep calling me DJ? Like, I'm not a DJ." So he's like, "Just run with it, just run with it." He's like, because out here, like, if you're not like a well known, like a big name artist or something like that, people really don't know you, so they just
Yeah.
like, whatever. But he's like, if you're a DJ, people just like automatically just think that you cool. So when I literally after that night, I went to the club with him. We had a showcase, and it was like six people. I was like, DJ, what's up, DJ? And from there, I was just like, oh snap, like yo, he wasn't lying. So then fast forward, like as I got into it, man, I was just like, you know what? I actually like I'm at a point where it's like I want to do something different in my career. I feel like I've done a lot. I lived in LA for
Okay.
about 14 years of my life, and yeah, and then it was just like for me it was just like I got so many different skills, let me try something different. So then I came back home later that year, and then basically I got a little control of my SB3 Pioneer control, and then I started practicing, and then one of my OGs, DJ Cool B, he showed me how to mix and stuff like that,
Okay.
so I practiced, and then I ended up getting my first gig, and then from there that some odd years later I was just getting booked on different stuff, and then that particular thing took me around the world.
Wow. Now I've seen you. You've traveled a lot as a DJ. How did you get your first opportunity to travel? All these dope places you've been able to go to.
Yeah, man. So like I said, about a couple years ago I got my first gig roaming internationally, DJing on a cruise ship. And
Oh,
shout out to
okay.
my guy Rob, Traveling DJs. They called me on, like, it was and that was literally, I'll never forget that day. It was a Thursday, and it was 2022, and it was literally the Thursday before Easter Sunday.
Okay.
And how I remember this is because I had to get on a plane that night and go to Fort Lauderdale, and I left LA, and it was like, yeah, and I had no idea where I was going. I'm just like, all right, I know I'm going somewhere out the country. Where am I
Yeah.
going? He's like, oh yeah, so the ship y'all dock in Istanbul, Turkey. So I basically had to live on the ship for 3 weeks. Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so I that was my first opportunity. I got a chance to see about 7 countries on that tour, and then from there, it just really, like, it just happened. It just kept happening, and then, like, literally, later on that year, I did another tour. Then after that, I was just, then I booked something else the following year. Then went to Asia, and then from there, I just came back from South America. So it was just literally me getting on that cruise ship that kind of really
Yeah.
spawned it off for me.
Was that your first time going on a cruise ship when you got that opportunity, or
It
had you already been
was.
on a cruise ship?
Nah, that was my first time, man. Like, I had never been on a ship before, and then for my first time, and then being a guest entertainer was just like, wow, this was crazy.
How did you deal with the water? A lot of people say when you get into the cruise ships, the water's different. Keeping your balance. Like, how did you get around some of those early obstacles people deal
The
with?
motion, man. You know what it was for me, because that like I noticed like when you're on like those really really big ships, because it's like being basically like on a hotel. It's like being in a hotel, and
Yeah,
so like they have it like where it's stationed like that, and then thank God just around that time it was really calm, so we didn't hit any like storms because we basically coasted up the Atlantic, and then we ended up in the Mediterranean.
yeah,
So it was real calm out there, and the waters were pretty chill. But they were saying like a lot of times in the like the around time like now, like going to the Caribbeans is like when it's really rough, and you'll feel that
yeah.
motion. But I have never done a Caribbean joint, but it was
Okay.
pretty cool. So I mean, like, but it was cool though. I ain't gonna lie. Like my first 3 days, I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" Like it was tripping me out. But eventually I just got so used to it, and I was just like, all right, by probably like my fifth, sixth day, it was just like, all right, I gotta be here for 3 weeks. So I'm just either going to just go overboard or I'm just going to just deal with it.
Now, when you're the entertainer, and this is your first time, how were the people that were there for the cruise? Like, did they know this was your first time on the cruise, or did you have anybody give you support like that?
You know what it was, man? Like, man, my guess, and it was so crazy because this was like a real wild experience for me because it was like I was I was young. I was like younger than a lot of the guests. It was a lot of older, retired folks.
Yeah,
And the thing was, it was like, and they kind of briefed me on it. But again, people can always tell you, you know what I mean, just from their experience, but they never know until they're actually in it. And I
yeah,
know with this particular group, because, cruise ship, people change all the time. So it was funny, like the first group that I had was just like a bunch of older retired folks. And they just like what they like. So it's like, you think that you'll play one song and get the party going, and I'll just
yeah.
look like, yeah, no. We just want to listen to Garth Brooks and just chill out and just drink our drinks. Like,
Yeah, they're not trying
okay.
to turn up or none of that.
Yeah, and it was crazy though. But my second group though that I got on was like they were a little older, but like still kind of young, like that 40s, like young 50 range, and they were just party animals. So you throw on the bangers, they was like, yeah, jumping like literally standing on tables and like going crazy. But so it's just like kind of gauging, and they did know that was like, all right, but I held my own. So
Yeah,
and I feel like when I really established myself, so every night we had like different theme parties. And so like they would tell me it's like, all right, tonight is like ABBA night, or tonight is like 60s night. So it was a 70s party. And
okay.
I love the 70s. And I was just like, man, I was like, if I feel like it was any era that I wish I was like in my prime, it was the 70s. That music was just amazing. And so a lot of that stuff I know just from sampling it or just hearing
Yeah,
like my mom and pops playing it, whatever like that. But so I was just like going through a lot of those records, and I feel like it was that night when I really established myself, and everybody knew who I was, because like I
right.
literally had like about 1,200 people in my face, and I rocked all of them, and that's what I was scared as hell. I ain't even gonna lie, like I was nervous, but after a while, I was like, "Yo, what am I scared for? Like this is what I do." And
Yeah.
when I really hit that, that's what really got me. Like, all right, bet I could do this. And then that was that night when it just became like walking.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot of times we tell people when you're first trying something new, nobody knows you're new unless you tell them. So like if you just are honest with them and you tell them you're struggling, they're gonna know that from the jump. But if you just get in there and do what you're paid to do in the first place. They brought you on the cruise ship because you're a beast at what you can do. So,
Right.
I'm glad that worked out for you. How has it been being away from the United States? Like you said, you spent three weeks in Turkey. How has that environment been for you traveling around the world and actually having to stay in these different locations? Everybody else is just there for cruises, but you're actually living outside of the United States. So
Yeah,
how's that
man.
been
You
for
know
you?
what? It was really, man. It was really a eye opening experience, and for me, it's definitely something as a creative, as a
Yeah,
writer, as a producer, just as yeah, just like I said, as a creative, it really just opens your mind up to just other things and just other walks of life outside of just what we're accustomed to in the States. And then it also shows how strong and our influence is,
yep,
because
yep,
everywhere I went, like it's not one place that I haven't been to where it's like American music is like reign supreme.
yeah,
It's just so crazy because everybody wants to like mimic that style, that sound, and just
yeah,
that flavor. So I feel like just that American culture is just dominant everywhere. And but I feel like and I feel like the DJs and producers that do travel, like the Diplos, and
Yeah.
they find inspiration in those other culture sounds, and then they basically bring it back, and then they just mix it with what they do. So I love it, man. Like I said, just on that joint, man, I was able to go around Europe on that first tour. So we like went to like we first stopped in like Portugal, then we went to
Okay.
like France, Greece, Italy, what was that other place? Mallorca, Spain. Then like I said, then the final stop where I got off at was Istanbul, Turkey. But we
Okay.
literally like cruised around all of Europe, and I literally hit all of these different countries. And then, like I said, I went to Asia, did like India, Philippines, Thailand, Japan. Japan is my favorite so far. Like
Okay.
that
Yeah.
place. Oh my! I did Japan 3 times alone last year. Like, and then I recently just came back from South America. I did Brazil, Uruguay, and what's that place? Argentina. And like
Yeah.
the
Dope.
vibes out there, bro, Sao Paulo and Buenos Aires is crazy.
I
It's
seen you
crazy.
when you were in Argentina. You got to meet a graffiti legend, Zero One. How did you guys meet? And did you know he was this legend when you guys first started interacting?
I had no idea, man. And that's what I love about traveling, because you just never know who you're going to come across. So I got connected with him through another legend in Brazil, legend Chavettes, who's a
Chavez, yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So Chavettes, I got a chance, and then even with him, my man EXO, who was another tag writer out there. I went into his store, and he was like, and he was talking, and then when I saw he spoke English, I'm like, oh, okay. And then we was rapping, and he had a Michael Jordan graffitied on the wall, and I seen like the cans and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, this is like a writing joint. And he was like, oh
yeah.
yeah, he's like, this is the graffiti spot. Then like this is the clothes, and he was showing me around. And then he was asking where I was from. So when I talked to him, and then he was like, yeah, it's a lot of Philly folks. The Eagles just played the
Yeah.
Packers out there. So we went to the game, and he was like, I just met a cat from Philly, and it was funny. It was my homie that went in there and bought some clothes. So he was like, well, if you got a minute, man, I'll take you around the corner, man, and meet my OG. He's like, the legend. His name is Chavettes, and like he's a really famous, art graffiti artist, and then he's does a lot. He has an exhibition, so he took
Yeah.
me around there to meet him, and then I went to his exhibition, and then I was looking at some of his stuff. And then when I told him what I was doing, I was like, I'm on tour right now, moving around South America. It was like, well, yo, you out there, like you got to connect with 01. And then
Yeah.
he basically connected us on Instagram. And then
That's
I hit
dope.
him up, and then he reached out, and then he came to the spot, and we spent like the day together, man. Went and got some lunch, and then he showed me around a little bit, and then he came through, man, and blessed me with some amazing art, man. And
Yeah.
like shout out to that brother, man. And then I got a chance to get to know him and just know his history. And then in my time when I left there, man, I looked him up. I'm like, damn, like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
dude is he really that guy.
Is graffiti really big outside of the United States like it is here, or?
Huge, bro. It's like, I mean, and you know what? It's funny, man. And I guess because I was like trying to keep it on wraps, but I have the honor, man, of like working with the legend, like who basically inspired that whole thing, Cornbread.
Okay. Yeah.
So Cornbread, Philly's own, man.
Yeah.
Me and him have been working on something for a while. So I don't get into detail, but I've been collaborating
Yeah.
with him on something, and just a lot of people, that's what they all said. Like when they were talking about it, they was like, yo, you from the city of the guy like who started all this, who inspired all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, but graffiti is just, man, like it's not one country that I haven't went to where it's like graffiti is everywhere.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
now, like, I don't know if you've seen it in the news recently out in Malibu, the Phillies son, the owner, his son house got bombed. Like some graffiti writers like
Oh
tagged
wow.
off the crib up. Yeah, that was crazy. My dad just sent me that the other day, and I'm just like, yo, that's crazy. Like, but graffiti artists, man, like they just still out here. And then I learned like just what that is. The same way how us rappers like use our voices. That's like the way
Yep.
of them using theirs to through
Yeah,
their
I was gonna
art.
say, is it as much negative connotation with it outside of the United States? At home here, we kind of, if you see graffiti, it's almost got a negative connotation to it. Is it
Connotation.
the same way outside?
It is and it isn't. And I feel like because a lot of this stuff is still illegal, like it's considered vandalism. But I'm seeing more and more, and then like even in Philly, like we have mural arts programs. So I feel like it's different, agencies and different mediums, like where there are different platforms for
Yep.
artists like that to be able to express their art through canvases and doing murals and stuff like that. So like
Yep.
Chevette's, he was saying like when they saw like how heavy he was, like basically the city was just like, hey man, look, we just got to give you like some kind of budget and allow you to just do something
Wow.
where because it's beautiful. So he was
Yeah.
able to do stuff like that. And then that's why I feel like so more and more countries are starting to wake up, but then there's still, some places that just deem it as like, yeah, no, like this is illegal. And if we catch you, you going down. But I think it's beautiful, me personally. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, it's not cool to, vandalize somebody's property, but a lot of them might have messages and stuff like
Yeah.
that in them. And the messages be like really like, wow. And even in Uruguay, like I seen some really beautiful canvases just all around that city.
Now, with you traveling the way you do, how are you bringing that back into your music? Being a DJ, are you sampling new sounds from outside of the United States? Are you've got different artists that you're working with because of that? Like, what has this opened up for you?
You know what it is for me, man? It's like both. I'll hear some sounds and I'll just kind of implement that into my production, and then I'm even just finding myself collaborating with just local artists that I'll meet in the street, and then I'll just be like, hey, because a lot of them be like, oh, you American, can I get some money? I'm like, all right, I'll do you one better. I'll throw you a couple dollars, but it's like I'm gonna throw you a track and let's make a song, and then let's
No.
find a way to put this out. So I met these kids in Colombia like that, and they were rapping for me on the street, and I gave them some money. But then I was like, "Yo, I'll do y'all one better. Give me y'all Instagram. I really like y'all vibe. I'm gonna make
No.
something, send it to y'all, and then we're gonna put a song out, and then I'm gonna find a way to help y'all in your career." So I did that, just about almost every place I've been to so far.
Okay. Now you got the Chase What Matters Music Group. What made you create your own label, and how has that experience been for you being having your own music group?
Oh man, it's amazing, man. Like, it's going on, 11 years, man, that we've been running that, man. And that was just, a blessing for me just because, you know, you are like, especially getting into the business. One thing I learned that it's like, it's always one thing to get in, it's easy, but then it's just like to really sustain. And I
Yeah.
just feel like, eventually we all have our paths and different things that we want to do and create. And I feel like since I stepped into that space as a producer and then now a DJ, it's like I always wanted to just showcase not just myself, but just other people.
Yeah.
And so just creating that platform has allowed me to just work with other people and just the way that I want to.
Yeah.
And now, stepping into my role now as a executive, as the head of A&R for AQV Music now, it just allowed me to like, all right, bet I have these skills and now I not can just produce and write a record for you, but now I got a system
Yeah.
that I work with, and then we're just, able to put a plan together to be able to break these artists now. So you're about to hear a lot of different artists, in the first quarter of 25, from us. Then, and I'm just,
Cool.
just loving it, man.
With AQU Music Management, I know that's a sync and licensing situation. What made you want to join that company, and what's some of the things you guys are providing to artists that other distributors and labels out there aren't doing?
Right. So AQV Music, man. One, it was a good brother of mine, Jonathan Stevens, man. Jay is a good friend of mine. My uncle introduced me to, and he and I have built a rapport over the last like 2.5 years now. And we always just try to find a synergy to work together. And it was just like we couldn't find it, but then it was the last two artists that I brought some Wavy Jones
Yep.
as the MC and the actor, and then it was this girl from India, South India, my girl Suvi. When
Okay.
I brought him to her, he was just like, "Yo, who is this?" And again, somebody I met in my travels, and when he looked up her whole thing, he was just like, "Bro, like you about to make me get back into the game," because eventually, like I said, he was just a
Yeah.
sync and management company, but it was those artists that I brought to him like really kind of excited him again to get back into the business. So we basically formed a partnership with Chase What Matters and AQV, where basically, I would just, handle a lot of these artists, related stuff in the production, and then they would just basically put them out through the relationships that they have with the labels. So
Yeah.
basically, what we're doing is we're basically building the international Avengers.
Oh wow. So you guys are targeting international artists for.
Yeah, so we're moving like around the world with this one. So the way how we're putting this together is, for me, I've never seen it done. I mean, I've seen, of course, different artists, from around the world, but the way how we're doing this is a little bit different. And so we're finding these different mediums, and then like I said, they work in the sinking film and TV space. So we're just about to utilize that platform and a lot of these shows that we're working on, and breaking these artists through these different shows.
If there's an international artist out there or somebody who catches this live when it airs, what's the best way to reach you guys, and what are you looking for from artists before they contact you? Because international artists have so many different skill sets and different styles of music. Like, what kind of music are you guys interested in?
Really, for me, it's all about just one what catches my eyes and ears. And I mean, just because I look for people who are just authentically themselves. Like, I'm not really into like, oh, this person is popping because they went viral. So I mean, of course that'll get my attention because it's in the algorithm, but I like authenticity. I like somebody who is just themselves and confident in that.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's one thing that I'm looking for. Is just artists who I've ran into. They were just being themselves. Like, I just ran into this young lady when I was in Uruguay, and she sings Spanish and English, and she was like belting out Alicia Keys song, and I'm just like, Jesus, who is
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
And then it led to a conversation, and then she sang another song in Spanish, and I'm just like, that same power was just there, and I'm just like, bro, this is a gift. And so we talked and we connected, and it's something that's working. Yeah, man. Shout out to my girl Andrea, man. She's dope.
How how do you guys deal with the language barrier? So do you guys have someone that's going to translate music for you
Translator.
into US? You got a translator that does it? Okay.
Thank God for Google Translator. My phone, that's my translator.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that's how we move. And then, like I said, just folks, can hit me on the gram, or they can hit up Chase Flow International or AQV Music.
Now you mentioned Wavy Jones. You said he was an artist and an actor. What was it about him that grabbed your attention, and what did you guys do to encourage him to join the team?
Oh man, so Wavy is just, he and I have a history. I mean, that's my little brother. And
Okay.
basically I've been
Dope.
knowing Wavy since he was about 12, 13. And so now, just seeing the growth of where he is now, when, him going to Hollywood in 2017 and taking on that role playing Biggie in the
Yeah.
Unsolved series, and then, doing the Wu-Tang joint, and then recently the Good Doctor. It's just the growth. And one thing I always loved about Wavy is, his work ethic, and it's like he's all about just getting to it and getting it done. And we definitely like hit some roadblocks and like hurdles along the way, because a lot of times, he has that thick accent from New York, so everybody just always say, oh man, he sounds like Biggie. But it's
Yeah.
just like, no, he just sounds like a dude from New York.
Yeah.
But
It's just New York.
yeah, it's just New York. But to the rest of the world is Biggie. But the thing was, the one thing I loved about him is that he was able to really get outside of his comfort zone, and we was able to experiment with different styles and sounds of music that we just conventionally wouldn't do. And then it worked. And then it just, his authenticity just kind of shined through it. So
Dope.
yeah, he just always saw it, and just one, he was just always somebody who I personally believed in.
Dope. Dope. Now I seen you're doing thank God for hip hop your series, and you're focusing on the beef of hip hop. Are you shocked by how people respond to beef and hip hop? Like, that's part of our culture. That's what we all build off of. But are you surprised at how shocked people are by it?
You know what? I'm not, because I feel like it was just always something in the inception of hip hop, and it's just a part of the art. And if people really understood the culture, then they would
Yeah.
know that that's just about, it's just basically slap boxing in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, because it's never okay, and it's sad that some of that stuff like ends fatal and leads in death. But um, it's just one, like I said, it's one of just like really just kind of the skills. And I feel like for me, with this Kendrick and Drake recent beef, it was just one, it was something that hip hop needed.
Yeah.
I feel like it was something because it got people excited again.
Yeah, it got
So,
the energy back. You being from Philadelphia, you've seen some legendary battles, and you know they like you said, unfortunately, some of them went the wrong way. How do you encourage people to stay positive when they're in these environments where yes, you got to do a dope this to get the attention of the crowd, but you don't want to escalate it to being in the streets? How do you keep, advise people on that?
man, like, one thing, just even now, because I stepped into the role as an educator and like with the after school program, and so one thing I always teach my groups, man, is like it's just being yourself. So it's just like you just got to really stand on that and be confident. And so if you're a street person, then it's like, hey, just be that, but actually just be safe. But if you're not that, then don't try to be that. Like,
Yep.
just be confident in who you are. And that was always me. It was like I grew up in church. Like, I
Okay.
never was the street dude, and I was never really like, out here selling drugs. So I'm not going to talk about that. But I
Okay.
know that if like, some people, they just do that because, oh, it's the cool thing to do, it's going to get me attention.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, then we see where that can lead up to, because if you get checked, then it's like, all
Yeah.
right, you really able to stand on that. So I just always tell people, like, to just really just be who you are, and not, dumb down from that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely something that, and again, it's just like, but I've been in like rap battles before where it's like, I had to come up with some stuff, and it was like, whoa, and just in Philly, man.
Yeah.
I love it because I remember just being around with like, Cicero, when like some of these guys like came up to my school and like battled some of my homies, and it was just like, oh, like, so
Yeah.
we live for the oohs and ahs.
Yeah, I could definitely speak to that because same way, like people, beefing and battling in rap and hip hop wasn't always this major negative connotation thing. Like
Mhm.
you just coming into beef to show my skills is better than your skills. It's not
That's
always
it.
been aggressive to it, but it has that part. So I'm glad to see you said you're going into schools and stuff. What made you want to take on that new hat and become an educator and give back to the youth like that?
You know what it was for me is because I always like had it in my heart. I was saying that I don't want to wait until like I like achieve this level of success, or
Yeah.
where it's like I have like millions of dollars, or all these accolades, where it's like I want to give back. And I always said, like, well, I have the time and I have the energy. I always wanted to be the old head
Yeah.
to the next generation that I never had. And
Yeah.
so just with the opportunity, when COVID hit, being one of my homies, like, we always talked about how we wanted to, come back home to Philly and just do something, and give back to the city. And then, I just basically stuck with that idea. And I actually started working in this realm about 2014, 15 in Anaheim. I work with an
Okay.
organization called REAPMO, Reaching Youth Through Music Opportunity. And
Oh,
that was
dope.
basically my intro into working with at-risk youth.
Yeah.
And when I seen like that, I had that connection as a teacher, and I was just, doing what I normally do, making beats with them and just talking with them, writing songs. And, those were it wasn't like I had to do something spectacular, but when I saw I had that connection, it just was like, whoa, this is cool. And then I just had the opportunity in 2022 to basically start the Chase What Matters music program in Philly. And
Wow.
so going into my third year now doing this, we've have expanded. So we have, about 2 locations in Philly, and then we actually have a few schools in Chicago as well. So,
Oh, dope.
yeah,
Dope.
so, just moving into that space has really opened up doors for me, that has allowed me to not only just share my art with other people, but then also just create a platform for the next generation to just express themselves and showcase themselves. And not only do I teach it, but then I also find, because you never know, you'll find the
Yeah.
next thing through that.
Yeah.
And I just want to create that platform to just, let people know that somebody out there really cares, and that you ain't got to go off, and sign your life away to really have an opportunity at something.
Now, when you started taking this on, you said about 3 years. You've got Chicago and Philadelphia. What was like one of the first success stories, or what's the story you have from somebody who went through your program and because of what you guys gave them, they were able to go the right way and an opportunity presented itself? You have a story like that you can share with us?
Nothing real deep, but I do just have some like testimonials that I've heard. So the first school that I worked in was like an elementary school.
Okay.
And they were, like I was working with the mixed group, so it was about fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth graders. But then it just became seventh and eighth. But it did tell me that some of my students allowed me to, me being there allowed them to, have an excitement in their attendance, and that a lot of them were present and was being good, because then basically the teachers would be like, hey, if you're not good, then you can't go to after school. So the
Yeah.
ones who did
Yep.
have that, it gave them an initiative to be like, all right, I gotta get my stuff right. I want to go to Mr. Chase's class. And so when they
Dope.
saw that, was like, oh snap, like he really teaching us all these different things and letting us use the DJ equipment and letting us make beats. I took them to the studio. I took them to iHeartRadio, and when they seen like, yo, this is really like real
Yep.
stuff, like that gave them the incentive to just be like, yo, you know what? Let's get this together. And then some of my kids, even in Chicago, now they're older in the alternative schools. A lot of them just like were excited, like, man, like I wanna come back. One of the kids is like, yo, man, I want to sign to you. I'll do whatever you say, man. So I'm just like, all right, like keep that same energy. You know what I mean? Just and remember that in class, and then that way when I come back, man,
Yeah.
if the opportunity arises, I remember who you are.
Yeah, that's so dope that you said that, because a lot of times kids don't know how to be successful because there's no blueprint out there. There's no experiences out there that says if you do this, then you'll get to this level. So you taking them to iHeart Studios, you allow them to have an experience of being behind the curtain, kind of. So now that's going to stick with them for the rest of their life. Maybe they don't go that lane, but now they know they can be in a corporate environment. Now they know they have the confidence because you've seen something in them to excel and do what they need to get to that next class. So I salute you on that. I know you're known as the traveling man, and you just came back from Argentina, Brazil. Any upcoming dates we can announce, or anything on the calendar people should be booking their tours for?
Yeah, man. So like right now, I'm just working on doing some dates like later in the fall, and East and South Africa. So I'm
Okay.
looking at like end of like around like Thanksgiving time. I'll put the dates up, probably about like sometime next month, but I'm
Yeah.
just working on that whole thing. But right now I'm just, just doing my thing in Philly. So if anybody is out in Philly, they could catch me on, Saturdays and Sundays at Brunchaholics in Jersey and Philly. I'm out there every Saturday from 11 to 3 doing the brunch, old school hip hop and R&B, and then
Dope.
also rocking with Pure Green. So we're doing first and third Fridays and Wednesdays. So I'm rocking with them, man. And we just had Deshaun Jackson from the Eagles there.
Dope.
You know what I'm saying? And so like we got some other people that's coming through next month. And then like I said, then I'm DJing there. And then, just like I said, doing my thing in Chicago as well, out there
Yeah.
in the west side. And yeah, man, just moving around right now. But definitely like I said, just the Africa tour that's coming up next, which is going to be Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun. Any advice you would give to other DJs, either ones that are thinking about trying to get into the travel, the tourism element, or just being a successful DJ today in the all the new technology and stuff that's out here?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely would just say always keep your mind and ear open to just accepting new styles and sounds, and always just be receptive to music, because I know a lot of times, and I know like they say that for branding's sake, to just kind of stick to one genre and stuff like that, which is cool because then it helps you focus. But if you're
Yeah,
just a lover of music like I am, you know, you'll see that it's just going to take you, wherever. It can take you like anywhere. And I just know that, just definitely don't be afraid to, step outside of that comfort zone. And I know me now with Serato stems, man,
yeah,
it's like you can
yeah.
mash and make anything. And I'm the king of mashup. So I love it because I'm always creating something new. And I just love to see people's faces when I take their
Yeah,
favorite song and mix it with something else. And they just look at me like, what the heck? So
yeah.
I
Well, and
love it.
especially because you're traveling the way you are. I've traveled a lot too, and like you hear some of them drums they have, in different countries that we don't have out here. So imagine mashing up those drum patterns with something we think is really dope, and they'd be like, "Oh, what is that drum? Where's this coming from?" And now you've got a whole nother diehard fan base for that. You've done a lot of stuff with the DJ X show, and you did a DJ workshop over the summer. What is some of the things DJs are doing now to stay successful in this climate we have right now? You know, I have a lot of friends that are DJs, and they don't know how to deal with the radios are shutting down, the clubs aren't as packed. Are any advice you would give them to how to keep moving in today's climate?
Yeah, definitely. Just like I said, just continue always to network. That's the key. That's one. Always networking because you just never know who you're going to meet and then who's going to become what.
Yep.
And I feel like that's always key. Never burn bridges. That's one. Another one I should say. And then and just always, like I said, just just always carry yourself like just in the sense of like. You know what I mean? And just that you're confident in what it is and be always like if you're say you're gonna do something and just
Yep.
always keep your word. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? One of my mentors in LA, he told me that. He was just like, I would rather you tell me no in a situation if you're not 100% that you can do it versus telling me yes and you mess up. Just because
Yep.
I'm gonna look at you as incompetent. So always remember that and keep your word. But then, just get out there and don't be afraid. And I feel like, for me, it was me stepping on that faith and stepping out of that fear and accepting that call. And like I said, I put myself out there to go on a cruise ship. And then, some odd years later, like I said, I'm on 30 countries now.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So it's just, yeah. And it's like, I'm not stopping no time soon. So my thing is, it's just like, yeah, just really stepping out of that comfort zone and just always networking and building your Rolodex.
Now you and your label dropped a dope single Vixen recently, and it targeted all the video models and all that. And you had a really dope rollout that your team did. How did it feel to get the response you got from the fans when you guys said, "Hey, if we get so many likes and so much engagement, we'll drop this song"? And I
Right.
think in the first hour you had more than what you wanted. Like, how does it feel to see the response you guys were getting?
Man, well, Suvi is just, man, a shout out to Suvi. Like, she's just like, oh man, she's just like the best and the easiest to work with. And it was just like somebody who just from the jump, like her and I, we just really clicked.
Yep.
And she just has that built-in fan base with being a big playback singer in India in the Bollywood scene, and then
Yeah.
coming to America and then recreating herself into the English space. It was just like night and day, but it worked because she still has that like really pop, voice in those top lines. But when we dropped that record, like I said, it was just something that we was like, we're gonna test it out, see what people think, and we just gonna, tease it. And
Yeah.
now, like I said, we basically would just put it out there, put a feeler to just see what people thought. And now, like I said, we about to shoot the video next
Yeah.
month. We're about to really like do a crazy, crazy release with this next. So we
Wow.
got a whole plan with that. And like I said, it's that record on Wavy, and now we got some new stuff. And then I got this Dominican kid, Cruz, man, Cruz
Okay.
Rock. He's amazing. So he's another guy, and so I'm about to start, like I said, releasing slowly on all these artists. But Vixen is definitely something to look out for. Plus, like I said, me and Suvi, like we got them joints. Like that's just one.
Is it hard because she's coming from Bollywood success, so she already's got an understanding of what success looks like to her in her arena, but now she's in the United States dropping through your label. Like it's hard. Is it hard to set that expectation for her to
You
what
know
to
what?
be
It's
expected?
not because I love it because she doesn't have an ego. And
Ah,
so it's
okay,
like,
dope.
and she doesn't have that. Yeah, she just all about the work and just all about getting it done. And I love that because all the artists that I work with, they don't have that. Like, we
Yeah,
all have that understanding that it's like, look, this is the goal, this is the objective, this is what we want to accomplish, this is how we get it done. And let's just stay focused in this space and get step one done and move to step two. And me just being a producer, I got to have the vision and kind of set the tone for everybody and just kind of let us know like, hey, this is what we want to accomplish as the team, and this is
yeah.
how we're going to get there. So I just take for me to just be in a certain mindset and just a certain space to really be able to usher that guidance and direction.
Now, you mentioned Wavy, and you mentioned the cruise. Any dates or any videos coming up that we can circle for you to be on the lookout for?
Not yet, because we had a October 4th date, but then we had to push it back just because we're working on the platform stuff with the label, but we're definitely, like I said, pushing to drop some new music. Definitely the
Okay.
fall, so definitely look for the fall. You know, definitely, like I said, top of the year. You know, we
Dope.
dropping some stuff. Then I personally, like I said, I just dropped a new single myself, Only in America.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
Dope.
you know what I'm saying, and I'm just moving, so I'm gearing up because I still got something in the tank. So even though I'm behind the scenes producing and writing with everybody else,
Yeah.
Chase Fool still got a voice out here. So I just had to still let people know, and then me and my man LT Mo, like we got a
Yeah.
record we just did. You know what I mean? So we gunning, man. My guy, my man P Mac in South Africa. Like I got a record coming with him and Crazy Bone. Like I'm still outside, so
Yeah.
I'm still out here. Just I'm still nice with the pen. So yeah, I mean, I just need people to know that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I'm still got it, but I love, like I said, I just love music, and like I said, DJing, producing, writing, perform. It's just all in me, man. So I just want to just share it all. And I feel like some of my inspirations, like Pharrell, Kanye, those guys are just unlimited. It's just like
Yeah.
nothing that they can't do. RZA, those guys do everything.
Now, how important is a team to you, and who are some of the team members that make everything go for you and your companies?
Oh man, the team is everything. I mean, the acronym for a team. Together we achieve more. So, what I mean, I feel like, having a team is just very, very crucial and getting things done faster and more efficiently because
Yep.
one person can have a vision and an idea, but then it can also, take like that same idea if you put it in a team consensus and everybody's focused on that
Yep.
objective,
Yep.
it can really grow. And I've seen the impact of just doing that because I ain't gonna lie, like I'm used to doing a lot of stuff myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
that's the strain that they put on artists is that you got to be the label, you got to
Yep.
be the manager, you got to do this to grind and get yourself out there, and that's true. But again, if you really, like I said, show yourself and you show that people see your consistency and dedication through it, then you'll have the opportunities where you'll attract other people to see your vision and want to align themselves with you. So that's one thing that I see for myself through my consistency and dedication. People have found that, yo, I want to align myself with you because I see the motion and I see a
Yep.
potential of where you're going with it. So yeah, the team is everything, man. So shout out to my AQV family. Shout out to my Chase What Matters crew that I work with, man. The music program crew, like it's definitely they are definitely clutch and just helping me with just my everyday functioning with doing all these things. And that's how I'm able to get all these things done
Yeah.
and still travel the world and teach classes and make records. Like I got a team
Yeah.
and
Now,
they hold me down.
you mentioned being from Philly and how important it is to give back. What's some of the things you and your team are doing to give back to the youth in your hometown or outside of where you're from?
So, like I said, the thing is that we're doing is just serving right now in the music program capacity. So we have the program facility. I'm working on actually building a facility in Philly where we're
Dope.
going to be able to provide services for just children outside of these schools and community centers that we're in, but just where they can actually come and take the program and learn these different things if they don't. And I've noticed that a lot of people, since I like started going public with it, a lot of parents like been reaching out and like, hey, my son wants to learn how to DJ, and instead of just running around doing all these private lessons, like I was like, well, let me find a way that I can do that. So like I said, we're working on the
Dope.
online we're working on the online system, and then like I said, we're going to have a brick and mortar out here in Philly 2025. That's what I'm sticking to. And
That's dope.
yeah, saying knock on wood, I'm
Yeah.
saying we're gonna get it done. So I'm just, focusing on that, and that's why I came back home, is to really put that energy and all the experience and knowledge and resources that I've gained in LA and
Yeah.
taking that back and putting it where it belongs and where it needs to be.
It could be a dope situation because, like, they got those things called master class out there. So imagine you a DJ that teaches people how to really be a DJ. Or a YouTube channel that gives those tutorials. Because when you're new to being a DJ, you might find like legends that know how to do it. but there's not really anybody who's ever broke it down on a step-by-step basis on, how to do that. So I think that's a great lane for you. What do you have to say to your fans and supporters who've been rocking with you all these years?
Oh man, thank you. First of all, you know what I mean, just for one, for holding me down and allowing me to, you know, do what I do and just giving me the space to just be able to express myself. So that's
Yeah,
one. And like I said, so you know what I mean, like I'm still out here, I'm still outside, I'm working on a lot of new things, and the best is yet to come. So
yeah.
like I said, just stay tuned and stay with me.
Yeah. Well, like you said, 2025, there's a lot of things coming with the label. You got more tours, more cruises coming up in Africa. So I salute you on that. Anything else you want to make sure we mention before we get out of here?
Yeah, like I said, just I'm in Philly now, like I said, doing my thing out there, and we're moving. Like I said, thank God for hip hop. We're working on, like I said, doing a pop-up. So I definitely announce dates for that. You can follow
Okay.
me on there. What's Beef, like I said, the mix series. I got the shirt right here. So, what I mean, if people, like it, what I mean, we got the merch line coming. I got the jackets and stuff like that. And like I said, just more music, more mixtapes, more singles. Like I'm just creating and putting it out there. So definitely
Definitely.
just continue to stay with me, and I appreciate y'all, man, Sen, for hooking this up right here, and I appreciate you for having me on your platform.
Yeah, honored, man. So we'll be posting this on Monday. I'll hit you up when we're done. If you got any records and stuff you want pushed out, I specialize in getting music to the DJ, so I can help you get it out there for you. And I
Okay.
appreciate your time tonight, man.
Oh man, I appreciate you, bro.
Yep. Salute.
Have a good one, man. Salute.